Middle Path Radio, your number one online Islamic talk station.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. You are listening to Tech Talk on Middle Path Radio, and I'm your brother Ahmed. With me in the studio, as usual, is Mr. Producer, Brother Ubaid. We welcome you to our weekly tech discussion and debate, really all our personal opinions, and we discuss our own thoughts. We're not trying to educate anybody or inform anyone. It's just really our own kind of thoughts and musings from the tech world. You know, some people may be thinking, tech, are they going to talk about PCs today? Are they going to discuss Mac OS? Will they be talking about, in-car infotainment systems or general technology like, I don't know, what do you call them? Space discovery and exploration and stuff like that. No, we're going to focus primarily on kind of mobile tech. That includes tablets, smartphones, and accessories. Yes, it does include accessories as well, and the new segment, which is the wearable items. So today we're going to be doing that for you guys. We want to give out our number, which is 07477 080 248. That's 07477 080 248. Do get in touch with us. Drop us your questions if you've got any. If you want to get our opinion on maybe a device that you're looking at, or maybe you're comparing between devices that you haven't made a decision on, by all means, call us on 07477 080 248. Or you can ask us the same question via text message. We've also got that set up with WhatsApp and Telegram, those of you who are using those services. If you're a Twitter head, then you need to go follow our account, which is at Middle Path Radio. That's at Middle Path Radio, all one word. Hopefully we've got a variety of different things we're going to be talking about. We're going to discuss really thinness in a smartphone, or the thin, slim profile of a smartphone. How important is that to you? Is it an advantage? Can it even be a disadvantage? What would you prefer? A thin, good-looking phone, or a phone that feels good in the hand, sits comfortably in the hand, or a phone that gives you better battery life? People are quite split down the middle when it comes to these three areas, or maybe people want to have all three. And is that so bad to be, expecting that kind of device that can do all three things at the same time? Again, share us your thoughts and get in touch with us. Okay, you've got our mobile number already, and let us know what you think. We'll be discussing that. We'll definitely be talking about our own thoughts. We'll be debating our own personal preferences. And those of you who've been listening to our show for the past few weeks, it's a new show for sure, but you will have found out that some of us guys own, Apple devices, Windows PCs, and Android mobile phones. So we're kind of like, doing everything. Today we're actually also, that brings me to my next point. We'll be talking a little bit about a new Blackberry device, also known as the Blackberry Passport. Okay, so on top of talking about the thin profile, physical profile and design of smartphones, we'll be talking about the Blackberry Passport, which in terms of design and profile isn't very thin, and it's certainly no small phone neither. It's quite a gargantuan phone, this Blackberry Passport, and strangely enough, it's quite a good looking device.
Is that the one with the touchscreen and the keyboard as well?
Yes, it is. There is. It's a giant, squarish looking phone. We'll come to that straight away after we give the lowdown to all our. Here's another interesting, piece that I've been actually following this device for a while. I think almost over a year now, because when it was announced, it was a long time ago. A year to me, maybe it was only several months ago, and this device is called the Yota phone. Yota phone, YOTA. Phone. It's called the Yota phone 2. This is the second iteration of that device, and it's a very interesting device because it's got some innovative technology, some groundbreaking, this changes everything Apple kind of quote effect, or it should do. Unfortunately, it doesn't have that kind of marketing campaign, nor does it command that kind of mind share the way Apple does. But this is huge in the sense that it has a display on the back of the phone, and it's done it in a way that the phone doesn't look like an ugly machine. They've done a really good job in melting and blending that display. You would never know it's even there. It looks like a perfectly ordinary phone. Those of you who got like a Samsung Galaxy Nexus will probably think, oh, this looks very similar to a Galaxy Nexus. But it's got the feature that's innovative in this phone is that display at the back. It's not a color display; it's an e-ink display. That's the Yota phone. We'll be going into the specs of that device, seeing where it's available and how much you can get your hands on that for. We'll be weighing up the pros and cons of that device. Okay, and does it really stand up to the test when it compares with the current generation of flagship devices from the likes of Apple, Samsung, Sony, LG, Moto, and others? Okay, so another item. We talked about wearables, right, Mr. Producer? I don't know if you've heard about Google Glass.
Yeah, I think we
talked a little bit.
Yeah,
about
we did. We talked a little bit about it.
Are you in the market looking for a pair of glasses like Google Glass?
No, those days are gone.
What do you mean those days are gone? your eyes can't be getting sharper unless that's what you're implying. Google Glass hasn't really taken off. That's really the thing. It hasn't really taken off, and there are probably some good reason for that as well. Yeah, we'll be talking about that in tonight's program. I don't think we'll be able to cover everything. There's the selfie craze, right? I was going to talk about this last week about this device. It's an HTC device, and I think it's called the HTC Eye in the sense like eyeball. EYEI, and it's got a front-facing camera which is as big and powerful as the rear camera that you find, on your regular smartphones. So, I don't know. Is this something that is really grabs your attention? Is there a market for this kind of thing? Front-facing powerful cameras. I think it's got an 8-megapixel front-facing camera. I could be wrong. It might even be a 13 megapixel front-facing camera. I really I need to check that spec, but I'm gonna go with, to be safe, an 8 megapixel. In any case, an 8 megapixel front-facing camera is huge compared to what we're used to, which is like 1 megapixel, 2 megapixel at most. So what do you think? Let us know your thoughts. Is this something that is actually meeting a demand in the market where people are taking a lot more selfies, or do you think people don't care about selfies and who takes selfies? It's for kids, and stuff like that. Let us know your thoughts on 07477 080 248. That's 07477 080 248. We're going to be getting ready to go for a break. Before we do, I'm going to finish up on the stories that we'll be trying to discuss tonight. Lastly, I don't know about you guys, because we're talking about cameras. We were just saying selfie camera, front-facing camera. But what about ginormous rear cameras? What about the Nokia? There's a Lumia 1020. Let's go with what's already on the market. The 1020 by Nokia. It's a Windows operating system on that device. But the standout feature of this phone is its 41 megapixel camera, and it has a hump on the back of that phone to house that machinery that is giving us that 41 megapixel camera. And I've seen some reviews. It is repeatedly producing better detail in the images than any of its competitors. Okay, now there's the 1020 is now kind of old in smartphone years. So a new upgrade to that model is around the corner. There's a lot of rumors and leaks, and some people have produced some concept models based off of the leaks that have been received in the community, and they're calling this the Nokia 1030. Again, some information that they've got from the leaks, and it's supposed to have a 50 megapixel camera, but the device does look nice. It's a lot less uglier than the previous one. Not that it was particularly ugly to begin with, it just looked a little bit peculiar because of the giant hump on the back of the phone. And if you love Nokia devices, you are going to feel very much at home with this Nokia device. So we want to discuss the Nokia 1030 and see if you guys are interested in something with a 50 megapixel camera. And those of you shutterbugs out there, if you can contact us and let us know what your DSLR camera, what the megapixel size on your DSLR camera is, and then let us know what you think about a smartphone that has a 50 megapixel sensor built in. So share your thoughts again on 07477 080 248. That's 07477 080 248. Again, on the topic of thin devices, some company is announcing a 4mm thin, I was going to say thick, a 4mm thin, device. You think that's, 4mm, guys? Think that in your head. Get that in the eye of your mind. All right, picture that 4mm. That's less than half a centimeter. And let us know what you think. Is it going crazy? I mean, this comes back to the first point that we were talking about. You think it's getting a little bit out of hand? Well, this is a company that thinks, nope, we need to go thinner. And lastly, we'll be talking about, of course, some of our famous stories that we love to focus on is Apple. Apple has been doing some interesting things. And Apple fanboys and girls out there, let us know what you think, because Apple's been pushing notifications to their Apple devices to promote some AIDS campaign, HIV/AIDS campaign. And all the developers according to their own policies, are not allowed to send, the apps are not allowed to send push notifications to your device. They're not supposed to clog up your notifications area using this method. But however, Apple themselves thought that they are above the policy, and they decided to breach their own policy and send you some push notifications to promote this. What people are saying, well, it was for a good cause. It's a charity for HIV and AIDS. We know Mr. Tim Cook came out recently declaring himself to be a homosexual. We knew that the Russians reacted quite negatively to that. So they've done this with which I'm not the point of the story. The point of the story is, what do you guys think? Is Apple, is that something that you guys approve of? They should be sending you push notifications despite not letting any of the developers who've got apps on your device to do so. So what do you guys think? That's not the only thing. Apple's also, in a court testimony, it's been revealed that Apple used to delete some tunes by rival services from its music players. So this is quite anti-competitive. Apple's been doing that kind of thing. Don't think, it's just about Apple. We're going to be talking about Google Glass here tonight, brothers and sisters. Ladies and gentlemen. If you think it's just about Apple, no, we are talking about Google Glass, and we're saying that it hasn't taken off. Seems like a bit of a flop. Just my personal view, purely in terms of sales and popularity. We're looking at Blackberry as well, where we've already said how it's quite a bulky looking device. It's enormous, right? So we'll be making some comparisons with the Blackberry Passport to the iPhone. So come back and tune into Middle Path Radio as we go on this very, very short break. I'll hear from you very shortly.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is Middle Path Radio.
Assalamu alaikum, you're back and you're listening to Middle Path Radio, and this is Tech Talk. We are broadcasting live from a clandestine, undisclosed location here, somewhere very obscure and undetectable. and we're bringing you some of our thoughts. We debate and discuss the latest developments in the mobile tech world. And I'm your brother Ahmed, and with me in the studio, as always, is brother Ubaid, Mr. Producer. And we've got a variety of stories to cover. We've only got 1 hour to, kind of get all our thoughts and, our views out there. And we're already almost 20 minutes into that hour. So we can't afford to waste any more time. I'm going to get stuck in. Brother Ubaid, what takes your fancy today?
The BlackBerry looks like a hot topic at the moment. I think let's take that on.
Yeah, you want to talk about a BlackBerry. You're talking about BlackBerry Passport, I believe, yeah? Yes. Okay, BlackBerry Passport. Have you actually had a look at that device yet?
I've seen pictures of it. I've seen videos of it. I haven't had the privilege of holding one or getting some...
There is a very good picture of the BlackBerry Passport next to, I believe, a regular-sized iPhone 6. Am I correct? I believe that I am correct on that one. Yeah, that's the regular iPhone 6. So actually, if that's the iPhone 6, then this isn't as enormous as I thought it would be.
It's not.
It's not. Because it looked huge. I think it's this kind of optical illusion because the iPhone 6 isn't that big. I know it's bigger than the regular iPhones that people have been buying over the years, but according to this, side-by-side image of the iPhone 6 next to the BlackBerry Passport, and I've felt the iPhone 6 in my hand, and it's quite a small device. The iPhone 6 isn't that huge. So the BlackBerry Passport, I would have thought would have been even bigger. Than even I was thinking it was bigger than the iPhone 6 Plus. That, I believe, is an optical illusion because of the aspect ratio of the display. This display, it measures at 4.5 inches diagonally, which actually is supposed to be smaller than the iPhone 6's 4.7 inch diagonal. But what it is, you've got a much wider square display. With the iPhone 6, you've got a 4.7 inch angle, which is a very a more acute angle. With the BlackBerry, you've got a much wider angle when we're measuring that 4.5 inch diagonal here. Despite this, the BlackBerry is still a more thicker device. I believe it's 9.3 millimeters thick compared to iPhone 6's 6.9. The iPhone 6 is one very thin device, and that's automatically the first thing you feel and notice when you hold the iPhone. So 9.3 isn't actually a huge deal, but when you're comparing it with the iPhone, I guess 3 millimeters or more is makes a big difference to some people. It's a different device. I don't think it's trying to compete with the iPhone in any respect, to be honest with you. It's appealing to the enterprise more, the business sector. It is also, like I said, the main thing is much wider. The iPhone is 67 millimeters wide. Okay, not thick. We're talking about wide, left to right, guys, yeah? And the BlackBerry is 90 millimeters wide. So just try and imagine like a square piece of, actually, it's more akin to a A5. Is that an A5? Is this an A5? What is that?
That's
A6.
A6.
Yeah? This is an A6 leaflet that we've got in our hand. And I'm thinking the BlackBerry Passport is more akin to this A6 piece of paper. Okay, obviously much thicker. So it's made of the usual good, well-known, high-quality BlackBerry style plastics. They're polycarbonate type of plastic, very hard, very durable. Same kind of plastic you find in some Nokia phones. It's got a metal rim, despite the plastic, all around the surrounding bezel, going across the parameter of the device. And the back is some sort of a soft-touch, leatherish kind of material, which I believe at the top you can actually remove that piece to insert your SIM card. And let me see if it's got a micro SD card. Let me quickly rattle off some specs for you. So the BlackBerry Passport has a 4.5 inch IPS LCD touchscreen with a resolution of 1440 by 1440. That's a square. That's an exact square if I'm correct. Yeah, for a PPI, which is a pixels per inch figure of 453 pixels per inch. All right. Get that? Let's try to remember that number. That's 453 pixels per inch. That's how sharp the Blackberry is. So the higher the number of pixels per inch, the sharper the display, guys. Okay, so stay with us. On the iPhone 6, we find a 4.7 inch display, which is 0.2 inches bigger than a number higher than the Blackberries. It's also an IPS LCD touchscreen on the iPhone with 750 by 1334 pixels of resolution. It's much closer to a 720 HD display. HD is 720. This is 750. Slightly higher than HD, which produces a 326 ppi. So remember the number that we gave you earlier? We said 453 pixels per inch on the Blackberry. The higher the number, the sharper the picture. And on the iPhone, you've got 326 pixels per inch, which is quite lower than the Passport, the Blackberry Passport. Okay. So the screen of the Blackberry Passport, it's obviously a lot sharper than the iPhones. It's also larger, even though we're reading 4.5 inch on the Blackberry and 4.7 inch on the iPhone. It's got a greater area despite the smaller diagonal size. Okay, and I'm not going to get mathematical because I'm totally I wouldn't even say mathematical. I'm numerically illiterate. Okay, that's how bad I am. But because of the fact that it's a square and the diagonal is taken from a square, you've got a much larger, not much larger, a larger surface area than the rectangular shape of the iPhone 6, even though it's a 4.7 inch display. Go on, Mr. Producer. What are you saying?
Would I be strange to say that I actually kind of love and hate it?
Me too, man. Me too. I was going to say the exact same thing. It's new. It's something different.
It's got. Another key feature that it has. I don't know if you're aware of it, but see the actual keypad.
Yeah.
Where you press the button.
Yep.
It's actually a slider mouse thing, track mouse thing.
Yeah, it's like a trackpad.
Like a trackpad, but on top of the actual buttons of the thingy.
I mean, you would never know if you looked at it, but yeah, if you slide your finger across the
fantastic.
entire keypad,
there's
you can scroll left, scroll right, zoom in, zoom out.
2 layers of functionality.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. This is what you call innovation. And BlackBerry, I rate them for this because they were, financially they were struggling, and you know how the rest of the market quickly ditched the keyboard. BlackBerry have done their hardcore fans proud by sticking to their keyboard. Let's face it, they did produce a couple, maybe a handful of touchscreen devices, touchscreen only devices. This is still got touchscreen, and you've said it. The entire keyboard is a touchpad, and everybody knows BlackBerry's keyboard experience is second to none. Everybody knows the keyboard typing is so pleasurable compared to just typing on a flat panel of glass, for example. So BlackBerry have stuck to their guns, and they are still promoting their hardware keyboard. And what they've done is with the keyboard, they've cleaned it up a little bit. I mean, you might think it's minimalizing it a bit too much. They've lost the number row, for example. They've dropped the other accents and I don't know, the shift and other kinds of buttons that you might have found in some of the older BlackBerry devices. So, interesting to see that although it measures in at 4.5 inches compared to iPhone's 4.7 inches, when you actually compare the full surface area, you've got a larger display on the BlackBerry over the iPhone, simply because it's square shape. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, just Google BlackBerry, or in fact go to YouTube and check out some of the hands-on videos out there. If we can get our hands on a BlackBerry Passport, we'll definitely be doing a YouTube video for you guys. I think it's a very interesting device. I don't really care for BlackBerry that much because obviously already by now, like many of you, if you've started your smartphone gaming with an iPhone, you're already invested in iOS ecosystem. If you started your smartphone life with an Android phone, and you've kind of invested in the Android ecosystem, just like me in my example. But this is the first time I'm really looking to a BlackBerry device. I have not taken any interest in BlackBerry before.
This Passport, BlackBerry Passport,
it's a very smart device.
It's not just smart. I mean, it's got this thing about it. It's
a business to me, man.
It's not a bit. It's hard to put a finger on, but to me, I mean, this is going to sound really deep, okay, right? So don't get me on this, right? But to me, it calls out to all those ex-BlackBerry fans that when it first came out with the whole kind of the whole chat thing that used to happen, BBM, it's calling out back to those old BlackBerry users to come back.
Yeah.
I think so. It does.
If you were a BlackBerry user, you would feel
it's not trying to compete with the iPhones. It's not trying to compete with the Samsungs. It's its own niche. It's on its own niche, and it's good at what it does. And it's calling back home those people that left to go on Android.
Yeah, and everybody knows BlackBerry is really a secure OS. A lot of people know that messages and data and stuff is has good encryption and stuff like that. So BlackBerry is known for security. In fact, BlackBerry was so secure at one point. I don't know if it's the same anymore. Some countries abroad, for example, banned BlackBerries because of the fact that the governments of those countries were not able to access the information that they wanted to intrude on or extract from people who the government would call criminals, and they wanted to, get hold of the data and the messages and stuff that this Joe was sending to Mr. Black or whoever. They just simply couldn't get into those phones to intercept these alleged criminals. Okay, so that's why BlackBerry wasn't even distributed in many parts of the world because of this high security angle on BlackBerry. So it's interesting to see that the iPhone 6, and I'm actually even more surprised because the iPhone 6 is the smaller one. I thought this was the iPhone 6 Plus, and the iPhone 6 Plus looks a little bit silly here next to the BlackBerry, especially the bezels at the top and the bottom. And I've got an Xperia Z3 myself, and that too has equally large bezels right at the top and the bottom. You can just they're like thick bezels at the top and the bottom, like wasted space basically. If you think what is a bezel, it's that black space where you can put your finger right at the top where your earpiece is, and right at the bottom where the button goes. All the space around the button on the left and right of the home screen button it doesn't do anything. It's just sitting there, empty space. They could have trimmed, made that shorter at the top and the bottom to make a smaller device. Because, iPhone's all about, small devices, one-handed use, guys, are you forgetting? Yeah, so, even people who don't buy Apple devices, we kind of agree that, one-handed use does have its advantages. And, I'm increasingly looking out for smaller, higher performance Android phones. Okay, so the BlackBerry is actually shorter than this giant BlackBerry. The square BlackBerry is actually shorter than the iPhone 6, and it's got a smaller bezel at the top and the same for at the bottom as well.
I'm actually more open-minded about this. If one came by my way, I would more than love to just get my hands on it and just give it a try.
Yeah, because I'm a bit tired of Android OS, to be honest with you. Some people who know me might be thinking, oh my God, what did he just say? He's such a, they
lynch him.
Well, how dare he say that, or him? Nah, I don't believe a word of him saying that. He loves Android. I do, but I want something different. Nobody should be loyal to a brand or a operating system. I'm willing to, dabble in other operating systems, try my hand maybe on Windows Phone. I've always wanted actually a Windows Phone, but unfortunately there aren't that many apps on Windows Phone. And with the BlackBerry, the new OS, I don't know if what is it, OS 10?
10.
Yeah. So with the new BlackBerries, you can actually run Android apps. So the problem of, this doesn't have any apps on it is not an issue with BlackBerry, because all the apps on Android, you can run them on BlackBerry. I think all of them. There may be one or two compatibility issues, I'm guessing now. So that's not an issue. But Windows phones, I love their cameras, man. Like I said, that 10 I'm going to switch to stories now. We talked about BlackBerry. Windows, I wanted to try Windows. But Windows, the issue is the fact that they don't have enough apps in their Windows App Store. Are you running any Windows 8 on any of your devices at all?
I actually downgraded.
You downgraded?
I've actually gone back
what kind
to
of backwardness is this?
Windows 7.
You've gone to Windows 7? How many versions behind is that?
One.
Okay.
One.
That's just one version behind.
No, I mean, do you know what? I'm not... I just don't like Windows 8, simple as that. It's just... just something about it that gets me so annoyed now.
Uh-huh.
It's that Lumia home screen that you get. I just really don't like it.
A lot of people are saying that. It's just too oversimplistic. Don't you think? It's just
it's so oversimplistic that you can't find anything no more.
They all look the same. Everything looks the same. I guess I know what you're saying. I mean, I've got a Windows 8 PC. It's a small one. It's one that I just lug around quickly because it's really light and thin and small. But it does have a full keyboard and USB ports and stuff like that. But it's a good device. I just wish it had been a little bit more powerful. But Windows 8, I don't think I can agree with you there. I don't mind the Windows 8 UI. I actually think it's very responsive, it's very fast, very fluid, it's very modern, very fresh.
They've dumbed it down.
How they dumb it down?
They've dumbed it down, that's what they've done.
Go on, what do you mean? How they dumb it down? It's not dumb.
They've dumbed it down to such an extent that people that have been using
Windows
7,
Vista, XP, whatever.
all the whatever it is, it's like, for them it's like, oh god, I've got to learn another new operating system. That's how it is sometimes.
Okay.
Unless you go in beforehand and you change everything around and give it that whole Windows 7 kind of look to it and feel to it. Yeah, I mean, if you sit in the background, okay, I'll deal with it. But at the box, oh god, it's ugly. It's ugly. I find it very, very ugly.
I'm not sure I can agree with you entirely on that. I think it's very different, it's unique, and I love the way, maybe it's because I'm an Android OS user, but I love the way it kind of just moves and kind of reacts to the human touch, and it's just a shame that I know Microsoft is struggling to try and merge the old Windows operating system with their new UI, because I always, despite loving this new, what they used to call Metro UI, which is this modern, I think they call it now modern UI by Microsoft, the one with the tiles, that screen,
the collage thing.
Yeah, that collage looking thing.
I think it's that whole collage element. It just reminds me back of my youth, of my youth working days.
It's too colourful and
it's not that. It's just like I said. I mean that's why
it's too it is dumb. I can see what you mean now.
I wouldn't go. That's why I wouldn't go to a Windows phone now.
But I mean, it's not that it's a bad thing. You can just click on the desktop button and it will go straight to the desktop.
That's just another button you got to click. It's same with it.
It doesn't matter, does it?
No, but that's with any app.
Turning your phone on and then pressing that button.
It's the same thing as any app on your phone. It's that extra having to press that one button or click another button.
But once you're there, you're there. You don't move away. You don't get out of that. It's not like this is something that I have argued about when people tell me, well, what's the big deal, Mr. Android, about your widgets on your home screen? I say, I don't have to open my calendar to see my appointments for the entire month. I don't have to open up the Tasks app to look at my tasks from different folders that I've created for either work or home or sport or whatever, I don't have to open up that dedicated app. I don't have to scroll through a sea of other apps to find that Tasks app and then click on it. It's always sitting on my home screen, these widgets, just like you would find on your Mac OS, on your Apple Macs, or on your Windows devices. Those of you who've got widgets on your desktop, you will know what I mean. That's always sitting there. There's a clock or there's a calendar, widget sitting on your desktop, whenever. So I understand what you mean. But with Android, it makes it not more sense because you've got a number of widgets on there. But with Windows, it's just one button.
Yeah, but I mean, look, there's another angle as well. The start button is missing from the bottom left-hand corner.
It's there. Not in the traditional sense, but it's still there.
But it's not there.
It's there. I mean, when you press the start button, it takes you back to the modern UI. Microsoft is calling it modern UI, that tile collage thing. Sure, it takes you back to there. What you were looking for is press the start button, search something. I mean, you just have to change the way we behave with the Windows OS, I guess. That's what it is. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Windows Mobile. And like I said, on mobile it's different. You don't have a desktop, it's not a PC. It's not supposed to be a PC. So on mobile devices, I think, the new modern UI that Microsoft is calling it actually works quite well. And the OS is very smooth and very responsive. This is the concept. And the reason why I like this concept is because I've seen a lot of concept cars and concept phones and concept this and that. And in all honesty, those concepts are kind of wild, sci-fi kind of nutty thing. It looks great, you just wish, imagine they really made that. But it's so unrealistic that you think, that's the main reason why they never really actually manufacture and produce that concept as a real product. But this is a concept really that looks exactly like the Nokia Lumia 1020, the one that's already on the market, built by Nokia. And it's actually based, apparently, according to some of the leaks that they've gotten their hands on. And it's showing you a metal Nokia Lumia. And I don't know if this is the first. No, it's not the first, actually. There was one other that was, I think, the 920 or something similar, which is really, a metal device. But this is a really nice metallic Nokia Lumia 1030, which looks just like the 1020, a little bit thinner, a little bit more slick, and this part isn't a concept design. It's actually part of they've gotten this information from the leaks, and it's supposed to have a 50 megapixel camera. That's correct. You heard me right, Mr. Producer. Don't be popping your eyeballs out of your skull. Okay, a 50 megapixel camera. What do you think?
I hate it.
You hate it?
I hate it.
Oh my goodness, you really are a anti-Windows guy, aren't you?
That's not that. I mean, what would average Joe want to do with a 50 megapixel camera when as soon as he gets his phone, he needs to upgrade to 128 gigabyte memory card? What would be the point of that?
Is that the kind of file size that these pictures produce?
Well, I mean,
get saved out? I'm not sure.
Okay.
You've got a.
I'm a bit of a camera geek as well. Okay,
yeah.
Right?
So
I mean, I've got a DSLR, and I'm wanting to buy something called the Panasonic GH4.
All right. So you've got a DSLR, which may be not the top of the range at the moment, but you follow some top of the range. You got your eyes on some of those.
This Panasonic GH4, it shoots at 4K resolution, 24 frames per minute.
So it's a new model, but is it a flagship top-end model?
No, it's not. No,
it's not a top-end model.
So these files, I mean, they're like 22 megapixels. Their sensors, that's 22. How they are, 22 megapixels.
And we're talking here about a phone with a 50. Let's say at least a phone with a 41 megapixel sensor, which is what the 1020
you'll be looking at about a 15-minute clip on a 32 gigabit card. We're looking at about 15 minutes of recording. 15 minutes.
15 minutes?
On the 32
Are you
gigabyte.
sure about that? I don't know.
That is
in 4K resolution.
4K resolution, 24.
4K does take up a lot of space. That's a lot of information. But the video output is really high quality. I've seen some 4K footage. I've seen 4K recording. I've done 4K recording on my phone, by the way, and I have compared with the regular 1080p recordings on my phone, and the 4K recording is completely trounces.
That's without a doubt. Without a doubt, it does.
Recording.
I mean, the quality is by far it's
really
superior.
It's superior, definitely.
But
you think it's overkill on a phone?
But exactly. My question is: do you really need, as a consumer, do you need something with that much quality on a picture? Because maximum you will go up is probably print it on an A4 sheet or let's take up to A3 as a poster. You can take it up to as far as that. I mean, you're not going to splash it out on a billboard, are you? On a Nokia phone.
I've heard that argument before, Brother Ubaid, and Mr. Producer, I have to say that that's not really the advantage of having 51 or 50 or 41 megapixels on your phone. One of the advantages you get with of course, it's great for printing, but you said, you're right, not many people will be going out there to print billboards and stuff like that. But one of the advantages that you do get is the overall effect it has in terms of detail. Okay? When you've got such a big picture being taken, then the overall effect, when you step away and compare it to a picture taken by a smaller sensor, the overall sharpness, I don't know how to describe it. It just looks more real. There's more information that's reaching your brain via your eyes that you can't tangibly put your finger on, but this picture looks a lot more vivid or real, lucid, And And that's the thing. I've noticed that with some pictures where it's taken on a smaller megapixel with a smaller megapixel camera. Good picture, lighting, color, and everything. Because a good picture is made up of a variety of factors. But just on detail, you do get more detail in the larger megapixel cameras.
Do you know what the thing is? I mean, if there's anybody out there that wants to buy a phone dedicated to just taking pictures, they will be hugely disappointed, because that amount of money you can invest in a professional or a semi-professional camera.
Okay, just hold your thought. Okay, you've made your point. I'm gonna also break that down for you as well, yeah. But before that, I was saying, what is the other advantage of having a 41 megapixel camera sensor or a 50 megapixel one now? And another one is that you can zoom in to your own image, yeah. After you've taken the picture, yeah, you can zoom in. And you can crop a section of that photograph as though that was the actual photograph that you took in the first place, and you wouldn't have lost any detail. So say, for example, you've taken a picture of a large scene or a very busy scene with lots of things going on. I'm not sure, it's not just it's not a portrait of a person standing there in a pose. It's more of a more random, natural picture that you just took. And then you thought, oh, that's an interesting, photography is about composition, and you think like, let me crop out a box of this big picture and take a small box out of that, of just that storefront, maybe. Just as an example. Or what does it say on that signage over there? And you zoom into that, and the detail is still there, and you can just crop around that without it looking so blurry and fuzzy. That's another advantage of having the larger megapixel camera. Allows you to zoom in and crop. And talking about zoom, the other advantage of having such a large sensor on your camera phone or your smartphone is that you can actually use digital zoom and zoom in a lot closer to your subject than you could do on a regular smartphone with an 8 megapixel camera like you may have on an iPhone, for example. If you try to zoom in on an iPhone, you start to get immediate blurriness. But with a 41 megapixel camera, you can start zooming in at least halfway, more than you could on others, and you still have a very good quality picture. It wouldn't look like, oh, you've just zoomed in and I can see the digital artifacting and I can see the pixelation. That wouldn't be the case with a 41 and 50 megapixel cameras. And those tests are already online, and you can see those pictures, people doing photography with simply zooming in without having a real physical lens coming out your phone, going in and out big, and like you have on a DSLR. Regarding your point, what did you say about spending the money on is a waste of money, or I forgot your point. What were you saying?
No, what I said was, if you buy this phone specifically just to take pictures, I recommend you buy yourself a DSLR camera.
A dedicated DSLR camera.
Yeah. You have much more manual control over your settings.
Absolutely.
You have that depth of field that you have in your professional pictures that you take.
That's true. Very, very true.
You have
better bokeh and effects as well.
Overall the picture quality, and it's not just the pictures. It's the
better low light photography.
It's not even that. It's the fact that you can actually switch it over to a video camera as well. You can take high quality videos as well.
Good point. But nobody's going to argue with you, Mr. Producer, on the fact that DSLR cameras are still better than these high megapixel smartphone cameras. But I think somebody, I can't remember who was, one of my friends, maybe one of my brothers actually said, the best, he's probably quoting somebody else. He said, the best camera that you have with you, Mr. Producer, the best camera that you can have is the one that's with you. Okay, it's a simple statement. Best camera that you could really possibly have is the one that's actually with you, because you're out somewhere, you're not lugging around this giant DSLR camera hanging from your neck or your rucksack on your back. You're outside, you just happen to be commuting or whatever, you happen to be with your friends, having dinner somewhere, and you just want to take a picture you still want it to be very high quality. That people reach for their smartphone camera. They're not thinking, where's my DSLR camera?
You want to
where's the manual settings on this? Let me increase the ISO on that. People are not doing that kind of thing. People
when we go out for a meal next week to a PFC, you're going to whack out your 41 megapixel to take a picture of your chicken and wings?
Yeah. People are taking pictures. You're taking pictures of
But
your
50
of your food,
megapixel,
yeah?
50 megapixels worth.
The point I was making was you're still taking pictures of your food, for example, with your smartphone camera. You don't bring out your DSLR camera and think, okay, guys, stand back. I need to, get this shot right, and where's my tripod? You're not thinking like that because this is not a photo shoot. It's just a moment, a fleeting moment. It's trivial even, and you just want to grab it.
But the question is, do you need 50 megapixels?
If you want a picture that's better than the man sitting next to you with a smartphone camera with only 8 megapixels.
Wow. So it falls underneath the category of vanity then?
No, at all. I mean, you're getting a higher quality picture. You're getting much better detail. You're getting...
vanity in the sense where, my camera's got to be better than the next person.
No, it's not. Now you're completely going off on a tangent here, Mr. Producer. What we are doing is comparing. Let's go back to the original comment that you made, which was that money you might as well spend on a DSLR camera. That is so not true. Why? Because people still have to buy smartphones. No, smartphones still cost around £400, £500, £600.
I'm just trying to dissect.
Hold on. Let me still respond to your point, yeah? Because you came out with that point and said it's a waste of money. You might as well go and get a DSLR camera. People still have to buy that smartphone for £500-600. If you bought an iPhone, it's still £600 or in that region, more give or take, right? So if you're gonna get something like that, you may as well look out for. If you're a shutterbug, if you're somebody who's a photog, you really you're interested in good pictures, and you want to have a good camera, at, arm's reach instantly. For whenever you're not carrying your DSLR. How many people out there carry DSLRs? Your ordinary consumer is not carrying DSLR cameras with them. And those ordinary consumers are demanding better quality pictures. And, I think all smartphone cameras are pretty good in that regard. So I wouldn't say that statement is fair.
It's not that. I mean, you're going to have a camera that you want to just take out whenever you want.
And a smartphone
even for you to upload to Instagram, it compresses it crops it does all sorts of stuff to it anyway. Okay, right. So your high quality is only going to be visible to yourself.
Undeniably true. However, even I'm assuming, now I'm speculating here, and you professionals can contact us on 07477 080248 and let me know if I'm wrong. But I'm speculating here and saying, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that a photograph taken with a 50 megapixel camera, which exports a higher quality image than an 8 megapixel camera does, okay? If you were to put both those photographs from an 8 and a 50 through the same compression, process that maybe Instagram puts the photographs through, I'm still kind of hedging my choice, I don't want to use the word bet, with the 50 megapixel camera to be coming out looking better quality than the 8 megapixel camera.
Yes, it's true, but the service that you're going to be using...
Where did you get the but from? I mean, there is
a but.
What but? It's still a better quality image, even on Instagram.
Which I'm not going to deny, but what I'm saying is whatever service that you're going to be using, it will be kept. It will be kept. No matter,
you won't get the full 51.
No, you won't. So, like I said, you're only going to be restricted just to watching... seeing a 50 megapixel quality image just on yourself.
I don't think that's. This is a good debate we're having on Tech Talk tonight. I've got some pictures from, let's say, 6 years ago. Okay, I'm giving away my age here. But say, for example, you had kids, right, long time ago. Now, they're like 6 years old or whatever, right? And I had a feature phone then. Okay, it didn't have that many megapixels. It was a very good camera at the time. But if I open up those pictures today on my, the PC that I'm sitting on right now, in front of me, those photographs don't look so good on this screen. I mean, it's only a 15-inch display. Imagine you try to show some of your old family photos. Oh, guys, check this out. That was you. You were a little cheeky monkey when you were 1 year old, and he's like, oh, Dad, I can't even see what that picture is showing me. It's so blurry. Are you sure that's me? That's the problem. We had 3.2 megapixels. I think the Sony Cybershot cameras were coming out with 3.2. The K800. I can't remember the full models. K850 was the next model up from there that introduced a 5 megapixel sensor. So I do think, the 8 megapixel cameras are a bare minimum, all right? And any higher the megapixel, the better. I mean, no harm done. You do get larger files that come out, but at least when you display it on a big screen for those family moments when you're having your family round and whatever it is you're celebrating Eid or whatever, then you can show them on the big screen and it looks great.
I'll take your point.
I'll give you so many scenarios where a larger megapixel camera is good.
Right. I'll take your point.
Why would you if they're offering it to you and it's the same price as every other 8 megapixel camera phone
because
out there,
I see,
why would you say
I see it as another marketing ploy here?
Okay.
For example, people that shoot videos and pictures in 4K, if you don't have 4K equipment, i.e. resolution monitor,
display,
you will not get that full quality image that you just took. Video editors are having to, and photographers are having to downscale and rescale their image and the videos.
I would dispute that. You're right. You still won't get if you haven't got the 4K display, you're not going to see full 4K quality. But
so
trust me.
Wait.
I've tested this, okay? And I've taken footage on a 1080p resolution, and I've recorded the same footage in 4K resolution, and I've taken it to a display. I don't have a 4K display, all right? I've taken it to a regular, HD display, and I've played both of those videos back, and I was in no doubt that the 4K recording was still better, even on a non-4K display. Am I seeing things? Maybe it's a placebo effect. If you guys think I'm suffering from placebo, where I'm thinking, I know it's 4K, so therefore it must be better, and I'm assuming it's better.
I know in my video editing community that I'm part of, my DSLR community that I'm part of.
Yes, sir.
They've actually said it as well.
But you're right.
The details are still more
noticeably better than
different
1080.
and a lot more clearer.
But you won't get the full 4K unless you've got you won't really benefit from the full 4K resolution if you haven't got a 4K display at home. It's true. That's true. But and you mentioned something quite interesting there. I didn't think we'd spend this much time on this. We've got only 5 minutes left to go before we wrap up tonight's program. But you mentioned something which is interesting. It's a marketing ploy, and you did say that people are just trying to they're on this megapixel race. It's a very valid point. I do think sometimes people are just trying to throw these numbers at the consumer and think, to fool them into thinking, well, this is the camera that you need because this phone's got this many megapixels. More megapixels means better camera, better phone. So a lot of people do think it's a marketing ploy, and it may well be a marketing ploy. However, in defense, in Microsoft's defense or Nokia's defense, I'd say they had no choice but to put in these excellent. I have seen comparisons. They are excellent cameras, and at least when it comes to detail, they probably fail in other places, maybe color reproduction in some, or they don't record 4K like some other smartphones currently do. So, and it takes a long time to just load the camera app, for example. So there are many weaknesses of the Lumia 41 megapixel camera on that phone. But you have to remember that Nokia is new in the smartphone game, post Apple. I'm not sure if they made any smartphones before Apple. They probably did with the Symbian and the N95 and those series. But post Apple, the advent of the App Store, for example, from that milestone onwards, Nokia's been away from the game until very recently, and they've released these Nokia Lumia. I think the 720 was their first Lumia flagship device. So they've got the 1020, and they've got like the 930, which is their most latest smartphone, and with the highest end spec that Nokia could cram in there. But what I'm trying to explain is that they've had to put in a very high power camera in there to differentiate their product from the iPhones and the Androids out there. You have to understand that people are going to say, why would I ditch my Android phone or my iPhone for a Nokia Lumia? I mean, it doesn't even have that many apps. That's exactly what I was saying, right? But they have to provide the consumer a very compelling reasons to compromise on the app store front until their ecosystem matures a little bit more. App developers get on board and make more apps for Windows. In the meantime, Windows phone users can feel comfortable and satisfied that they've got the best or the sharpest looking images produced by their smartphone as compared to the competitors. And that's exactly what Android had to do when they first introduced their operating system and their Android phones, I think 2 years after the iPhone. So their app store was behind, just like Windows is behind right now. The Android market was behind. That's what they used to call it back then. But they had to provide differentiation. So some of the first Android devices still had keyboards, slide-out keyboards. So a lot of the iPhone guys were thinking, I don't really like this. So I want a keyboard and the smart touchscreen and email and internet browser and stuff like that. And so Google was clever, just like Nokia is trying to be as well. Google provided sat nav, turn-by-turn navigation for free, something that iPhone did not have for years. They were providing Flash on their mobile, which no longer exists on Android, by the way. You can still sideload it, so it's not a completely true statement, but it doesn't come out of the box with Flash, right? So Android was differentiating its products from the iPhones and giving it a USP, a unique selling point, to attract customers away from their competitors. And I think that's exactly what Nokia is trying to do. And it's not just a what's the word I'm looking for? A gimmick. The 41 megapixel is not a gimmick. Anybody who's seen the reviews and trusts the opinion of these experts out there will have heard by now that the 1020 has. The Nokia 1020 does have a more superior camera when it comes to just their sheer realism and detail of the photographs. I think that's all I've got to say on the Nokia Lumia 1020. Are you guys excited about a 50 megapixel Nokia Lumia 1030? I definitely am. When the 1020 came out, I surely wanted to get the 1020, but I think it wasn't enough to woo me away from my Android devices, which are also catching up with their 20 megapixel, 16 megapixel cameras. They've still got a long ways to go. Mr. Producer, are you ever going to consider it? You said you hate it. You absolutely hate the Nokia Lumia. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to be a hater. I'm not going to be one of those guys that
you've already pegged yourself as a hater. You said you absolutely hate. Look at this design. Look at that. If they can produce that gold metallic Nokia Lumia 1020 with the 50 megapixel camera, I think that design with its humpback camera is unique. Okay, at least it's different to the sea of iPhone looking devices. It's not unique in an ugly way. It's unique. It's different.
I think what it is.
Like the Blackberry.
If you pitch up a Blackberry Passport and a Lumia, I would definitely go for the Blackberry Passport to test that.
That's a fair point.
And kind of get used to. But
that's a fair point.
With the Lumias, they've got a long way to go if they want to get me getting one of their phones.
Here's a quick glimpse, a quick story before we close tonight's program. This is Sony's e-paper watch. Now, we talked about the Moto 360. Look at that device. That's what you call innovation. That's what you call, inventive thinking.
You don't need a belt for this watch, do you?
That thing is basically just a belt with a round, is one piece. The whole thing is like one of those Fitbit bands, but super thin. It's like a piece of card, flexible rubber thing. And those of you who know what a Kindle is, or a Nook,
or a Pebble.
Pebble, yeah, Pebble as well. I think more people will probably be familiar with those ebook readers.
Yes.
From Amazon Kindle, the ones that were black and white, if you remember those.
What are they called again? Those lights?
The ebook readers. Nook. They're called e-ink.
E-ink, that's what it was, e-ink.
So the display is made out of, a technology called e-ink. It's mostly grayscale. I think there's some color versions maybe somewhere in the pipeline, but generally e-ink is presented in black and white. And for a smartwatch, that's really clever, because smartwatches currently, they suffer from serious battery life issues. You only get like 1 day's use or 1.5 days. Whereas the Pebble that you described there is a smartwatch. I think it uses e-ink technology, or using the old school LCD displays where it's giving you very minimal information. It's mostly black and white. There's no color, display on the Pebble. So it's giving you a 1 week's battery life. Which is still shorter than your regular watch would give you, but considering that the Pebble is doing a lot more, like giving you notifications and other things that your smartphone does on your wrist, then yeah, 1 week battery life is acceptable. But the color displays like the Moto 360 and the Samsung Gear Live or the Neo or Apple's Apple Watch, I think even Tim Cook has hinted that it's only going to give you like a day's worth of battery life. It's quite disappointing, to be honest with you. So this Sony, and knowing that Sony is behind this little invention, I'm really interested, because the entire band, the wristband, right, is also e-ink. So you can get, data or change the color or get different notifications, I'm guessing, across the entire wristband. So it's not just, limited to the watch face. And it looks quite kind of very hip at the moment. I think it's a really cool thing that they've gotten onto. And the main thing is battery life. With e-ink, you get much better battery life. And it looks very quirky. I think if it hits the market, I might be interested in getting my hands on one of those, so long as it's not atrociously priced, considering that it's just e-ink. So that's Sony. We cannot possibly, it would be Tech Talk blasphemy to close the show without talking a little bit about our good old friends that use iPhones. This is a positive story. I think our iPhone fanboys, iBoys, and iSheep will be buying away their in joy, because this story tells us that iPhone 6 sales have led to a decline in Android's market share across the globe. So iPhone 6 has been received quite well across the world, and people are buying, the iPhone 6 in huge numbers. Okay, estimates for the 3 months leading up to this past October indicate a steep rise in Apple's popularity across major European markets, namely, of course, UK, Germany, Spain, Italy, and France. So the Android market share in those parts of the world has dropped, and these analysts who have produced these numbers are saying that this is due to the fact that Apple has become a little bit more popular. People are buying more Apple devices, and some people who came from maybe Apple to Android are now going back to Apple with some of those for the iPhone 6, or as a result of the iPhone 6. For example, in the UK, like Apple's share went from 27.5% to just 28.7% in the 3 months leading to October 2013, while this time around we're looking at an increase from 27 to 39.5%. Okay, so essentially that's just UK, and we're seeing similar numbers across other parts of Europe, and it's apparently down to the fact that the iPhone has become even more popular than ever before. So that's a good story. If you thought I'm going to be just bashing Apple, then here you go. I've proven you wrong. Apple's doing pretty well. That doesn't mean it's a better phone, and it doesn't mean that there's any reason why you would be celebrating as a consumer. That's Apple's got every right to be jumping for joy because they're making more money from you and me. Okay, but we have some stories that. We mentioned how Apple was kind of not following its own policy on sending push notifications to your device, promoting their charitable campaign for AIDS and HIV. We've also spoken about how Apple used to delete certain tunes and songs by rival services from its music players. A court testimony has revealed. The last couple of stories that we read is from phonearena.com. Go check out those stories for the original references there. But there's one story that I want to focus on today. I think last week we spoke about how iPhone 6 and 6 Plus displays were getting easily scratched. Like, people were saying within the first 2 days they've noticed scratches that they've never seen on their previous smartphones, be it an iPhone of before or an Android device. So people are being advised, definitely put a screen protector on that iDevice that you've got, the iPhone 6 or 6 Plus that you have, because apparently, according to some users, I don't know if it's a problem limited to a certain batch of iPhone products, but I wouldn't be taking the risk with scratched up displays. Yes, Apple provides a very good customer service. I mean, you can just walk into the store and complain about the problem. I'm not sure if Apple replaces devices simply because you've scratched the screen. Some people have reported that they've had success with that, but I don't think Apple has any policy on this, with replacing the device just because you've scratched the screen. The reason why I picked that up last week, I don't think we actually mentioned it. We were supposed to talk about it last week. The reason why I picked up on that is because Apple does market it as having some sort of scratch-proof technology, layer of coating on their or laminating on their display, which is supposed to kind of repel scratches. But as a lot of the owners of iPhones are finding out, that is not the case. They are getting quite easily scratched. And I bring this up because a lot of people tell me, I've got a news story here, that iPhone 6 users are now complaining about the front-facing camera, which is kind of falling out of place. The actual camera itself seems to be moving from its original position. So if you look at your front-facing camera now, you'll be able to see the lens and the little dot in the middle. It's kind of, apparently after a couple of days use, the camera is moving a little bit down and left into the, getting hidden, basically. So
Hold on, wasn't that one of the features on the iPhone 6 where it has this
a feature?
Yeah, where the lens moves to kind of make up for the stability when someone's hand?
That's a completely different matter. We're talking about, so, you know, say, you know, the glass on the iPhone 6, the front.
We're talking about the actual camera.
The actual camera unit actually moves away from its original position so that you can only see half of the camera if you look closely. And if you were to look through the camera, you'd see like part of your picture cropped, missing, basically, because the camera is actually kind of hanging in its position. And that's not happening to everyone. But it is being reported by a lot of people, and there's been, you know, threads opened up, and I wouldn't believe this is nonsense. But if you look closely, Mr. Producer, what you will find is here. This is the iPhone 6's display where the front-facing camera shows through. You can see some sort of funny. Well, it's basically moved from its position. And you can see the camera is kind of
the outer edge
of the camera, and the lens kind of hidden out of sight, which looks very, very troubling indeed. It doesn't look right, and I'm sure it won't be taking pictures properly like that. And it's not just one picture. We're looking at more than one iPhone here with suffering from that same problem.
It might be just a bad batch.
Here's another one. We're just showing you like 4 different iPhones. Here's another one. So it could be just a bad batch. I did say that as well myself. But in any case, the quality controls that Apple is supposed to be putting their devices through is kind of becoming substandard now. Oh, that's not fair. It's as bad as everybody else. Let's just say it that way to make just to be fair. I don't want to make anybody happy. I'm not motivated by that. But what I don't like is when Apple guys who buy Apple devices tell me, well, you know, you can't ignore the fact that my Apple device is more premium, more high quality, made of more sturdier materials than your cheap iPhone clone Samdroid device. You know, they come up with this kind of, you know, lyrics, and I think like, are you sure? How come we're having these problems then? How come your phone is suffering from this dodgy camera that seems to move away from its position and gets hidden behind the display? It's not supposed to move. It's supposed to stay where it is. It's not glued in or screwed in right on that device. We talked about the display. Why does it get scratched so easily? If it's made up of so many high quality materials and it's a premium product and it's gone through better, you know, you're so expensive for a reason. We're paying for the higher quality. Unlike your plastic Samsung, you know, I don't even have a Samsung device. I couldn't care much for Samsung at all. But, you know, that's the kind of comments I get. And I got that recently from a friend of mine, and he was saying, well, you can't simply resist the high quality feel and, you know, the materials used in an iPhone. And I was just laughing to myself. You guys still believe that? You know, come on. Wise up, okay? They are using the same materials, if not cheaper materials than their competitors. And I've said, you know, there's strong evidence and research to prove this, that a lot of the materials that Apple uses in their devices cost a lot less than the product, the materials used by Samsung or Nokia, for example. So I think that's you know, my rant on Apple done. If you're gonna go out there championing and flying the flag of high quality and better quality controls, then these kind of things better not be happening, because they just make you look like a clown. Because it's simply not true, whatever it is that you've been telling others. Just tell me you like the design. I'll be more satisfied with that. Or tell me you have to have a device that is branded and well known. Otherwise, you feel embarrassed in society to have a phone that isn't an Apple device. You know, if you feel that insecure, just let me know, and I'm cool with that. I'll probably forward you to a shrink for some therapy. But otherwise, I'll be okay with that. Don't be telling me things like, yeah, it doesn't lag, when it absolutely lags, especially with iOS 8. Don't give me that. I thought it was just my old iPad mini Brother Ubaid, that was lagging.
You're on a roll today.
Yeah, I know to finish, yeah?
You
I
ha-
thought it
you-
was just the iPad mini. No, I've got, members of family who got the iPhone 6. I use their iPhone 6 all the time, right? And I can reproduce repeatedly the same lag over and over again. And if you're thinking, listening at home, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, what is he chatting about? You're going to challenge me like, whoa, give me an example. Give me one example. Give me one example. I'll give you one example. I can give you 3 examples. If you were to open up Spotlight search, for example, yeah? You know what Spotlight is? You drop down from the home screen and you can do a search from your home screen when you're looking at your apps. When you try to open that, you often get lag. If you think, oh, I've just done that, it doesn't give me lag, I'll give you another example. Definitely on this one, you will find lag. For example, when you have your keyboard open from Spotlight, try to open up your control center. Okay? Some of your iPhone users don't even know what the control center is. I'm talking about the little window that you open from sliding from the bottom. Okay, and you turn on your Wi-Fi and your Bluetooth. Have an open keyboard here from the Spotlight on your home screen. Search for, I don't know, whatever app. Okay, leave the keyboard open and open your control center and see the amount of lag that you hit. I don't know if you can produce that, Mr. Producer. No, you can't. You're ready to go to close the program tonight. I guarantee you, if you follow these steps, you will reproduce the lag every time, all the time. Okay? Have a keyboard open from the Spotlight search on your home screen, and then try to open your control center. You will find lag. Another one is try and changing the wallpaper. I haven't gone around looking for it. This is my own personal experiences. Okay, I have not gone on. Let me try and find lag on this device. I've tried to do these things. I open up Control Center to change the brightness, for example, when I had the keyboard open, and it lagged heavily. And I repeatedly managed to reproduce this. And then another one is try and change the wallpaper. When you get the stills, for example, don't choose the dynamic. Go to stills. In your settings, where it give you the still wallpapers. You got the pink, yellow, green, and whatever other mountain and star wallpapers. Try to scroll up and down, just fling up and down on your list of wallpapers that you've got there. You're gonna get some severe lag, okay? Some very choppy animation. That's the kind of stuff that you guys point your finger at when you see Android devices, and then you rub your finger on the screen like back and forth, back and forth. There you go. It's not, can you see? It's the drop frame right there, drop frame, I can't stand it because your device does exactly the same thing, dude. Okay, yet you are so high and mighty looking down on Android devices for doing that. All right, I'll give you one more. Open up YouTube on your iPhone 6 Plus or 6. Yeah, I'm not gonna even test the older models because I know they're gonna lag. Okay, but open up your best Apple devices, your iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. Open up YouTube, play a video, let it play, and then go into landscape mode. Turn it over, flick it over. Tell me if that doesn't lag. The animation is poor, it's choppy, and it takes a moment longer than it should to even flick over into landscape mode. Okay? And I haven't even talked about how when I turn on the mobile hotspot, I can't even, my other machines, the PCs, laptops, iPad, for example, can't even see the iPhone hotspot. So I've got an iPad that only uses Wi-Fi, and it can't connect to my iPhone's mobile hotspot because it can't see it. Then I have to turn it off again, turn it on again, and then wait and play around with, the iPad and, man, simple things. It's supposed to just work, but it doesn't. And I'm not upset with that at all because I know a lot of Android devices probably do the same thing. They just don't work, the way they should be. Technology, everybody's got a gripe with, I just wish it worked. Oh, why this PC doing this to me now? That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. All technology does that. The problem that I do have, Mr. Producer, and I want you to go straight to the jingle after this. The problem that I do have, Mr. Producer, is when people say that their iPhone just works and it absolutely does not. With that, I say sign out. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Middle Path Radio. Online. 24 hours a day. 7 days a week. Middle Path Radio. Your #1 online Islamic talk station.